Hello, one and all. Welcome to the home recording sessions. This is a very weird setup. This is real janky. I'm still working out the exacts of this setup, so please bear with me if the audio quality isn't particularly what you're used to. We're working on it. Thank you. I don't know why I've been on such a big Tarantino binge as of late, but I've been on quite the binge, and boy oh boy do I have thoughts. Of his 10 movies, I watched 12, and those are the ones we're gonna be talking about here today, in order of my least favorite to my favorite. And for reference, I'm explicitly covering the theatrical cuts of each movie. I promise this is an important distinction to make. If you're wondering how I watched 12 out of 10 movies, that's because I am including Grindhouse and Kill Bill: The Whole Bloody Affair, along with Kill Bill Volume 1, Volume 2, and Death Proof, since they are unique cuts that make them count for my metrics here today. Now, we've got an ungodly amount of movies to talk about, and I'm gonna talk about everything without any major plot recaps, so I will be talking about random parts of each film, which means spoilers of varying degrees for the following 12 movies. If you care, you should watch them. I actually do genuinely recommend almost every movie on this list. It's really good. Anyway, without further ado, let's get into this whole bloody filmography and really dive headfirst into 12 movies. At the bottom of the list, in 12th place, we have a movie that feels like it's 3 days long with how agonizingly slow it is. It's The Hateful Eight. So, full disclosure, there are two cuts of this movie, an extended 212-minute long cut, and the theatrical 168-minute cut. I watched the theatrical cut, and I was left wondering how this bloated corpse of a film had cut down nearly 44 minutes of content and was still nearly an hour too long. This one is a slog and a half to get through, and that's a shame because the whole opening sequence of Samuel L. Jackson, Kurt Russell, and Jennifer Jason Leigh reaching the cabin and getting snowed in is really good. The movie starts to run out of steam once Kurt Russell gets got by the poisoned coffee. Then it really pissed me off when Tarantino started having his pointless voiceover narration, and it was all downhill from there. This movie felt like there was an idea to remake The Thing as a Western, but with gang members instead of an alien, and they decided to make it drag on for as long as humanly possible. The runtime is so miserable, and I'll say it, this movie is easily the worst of the post-Sally Menke era Tarantino movies, because the editor just let everything drag on for way too fucking long, man. Legitimately, this felt like a bad imitation of a Tarantino movie, where it was made by someone who loves Reservoir Dogs and Django Unchained, that then decided, what if we combined those two movies into one and threw in John Carpenter's The Thing for good measure. Anyway, I feel bad putting this so low because of how good a lot of the performances are, but that fucking runtime and the pacing issues just kills anything this film has going for it, which is why I have no qualms about putting it in last place. I'm sure this is a controversial take that many people are going to want to crucify me for, and let me defend myself just a little. I am fine with movies having a long runtime. There's an even longer movie on this list that we're going to talk about that I love. But what that movie has with that runtime is a phenomenal pace that helps justify it being that long of a watch. The Hateful Eight doesn't justify being 2 hours and 48 minutes long, so how the hell is there a 3 hour and 32 minute long cut? In 11th place, or second to last, we have Death Proof. It's not a bad movie in concept or execution, but it doesn't feel on the same level as any other Tarantino movie. This film is meant to harken back to the good old days of exploitation films, particularly reminding me of Russ Meyer's Faster Pussycat Kill Kill 1965 and Herschel Gordon Lewis's Blood Feast 1963. And it does feel like those films blended together with some of that Tarantino style, but it ultimately feels pretty toned down by comparison to the rest of his filmography. The weird thing is, I do love what this movie is inspired by. I mean, I have made a weirdly successful video on Beyond the Valley of the Dolls, and this movie is clearly harkening back to that era of filmmaking and distribution, hence the stylized, low quality, and damaged film look that makes up most of the movie. But this movie just doesn't have the wheels to be a great Tarantino movie. But perhaps that is kind of the point. This isn't the traditional love letter to other films like every other Tarantino movie is. This is him attempting to make a film of that era that feels like it came out then, and by that metric it succeeds, but by the quality of his other work, this is definitely subpar. That being said, some of the kills in this movie are truly incredible, like the first big car crash where limbs go flying and cars go spinning through the air. Fantastic. Truly fantastic. Such a fun set of kills. A real high point in what is otherwise kind of a weirdly horny nothing burger of a movie. I mean, what the hell was Mary Elizabeth Winstead doing in this movie? Seriously, she has like 5 lines, then disappears, which really sums up the whole movie. People show up, say 5 things, then die in a big stunt or disappear. In 10th place, we've got the most recent Tarantino movie as of me writing this and now of me recording this. It's Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. This is such a weird movie because the core plotline of an actor and his stuntman towards the end of their careers in the 60s is fun enough, but the inclusion of the Tate murders and the historical revisionism that's attached to it is so weird to me. Like, yes, this is a well-made movie, but it feels too long and the Manson family shit is completely unnecessary to the main plot line. Of course, that final fight scene with Brad Pitt tripping balls is hilarious, but this is such a baffling movie for what it is, especially in the hero worship of known sex offender and piece of shit Roman Polanski. This movie didn't need that plot at all. Honestly, if it really was just an unrelated story about an actor at the end of his career and it ends up being an allegory for the Mansons, then it would be a better movie. All in all, though, it's a fun watch and a well-made movie, even if it could have been edited down to be a bit shorter. So the revisionism that comes with tackling the Tate murders feels weird and tacked on. And of course, again, the elephant in the room is the hero worship of known sex offender and wanted international criminal Roman Polanski, and defending him is not the best optics, but it's even weirder because it serves no real purpose to the plot. This is fundamentally a movie about Leonardo DiCaprio and Brad Pitt's friendship and their work relationship as actor and stuntman as they navigate DiCaprio's dying career. But this just has to tack on a plot about the Manson family. Don't get me wrong, the final fight scene is truly a lot of fun, but making this happen because DiCaprio pissed off the Mansons so they targeted him instead of the Tates is kind of fucking stupid. I mean, good lord, this movie feels like it's wasting the talent it has. Like, Margot Robbie is doing literally nothing this entire movie except show feet. It serves no bearing on the central plot line that she's in that theater with her dogs out, but it's here. Of course, this is Tarantino's most recent film, and as such, it suffers immensely from the new editor that's just too scared to tell Tarantino to make shorter movies. My main gripe against this movie is that like Death Proof, nothing really happens. Unlike Death Proof, this just drags on forever, even though it's kind of a cohesive narrative, and it's actually not that bad. It is objectively better than Death Proof, that's why it's higher, but I don't know, I might like Death Proof a little more. Anyway. Locking in at number 9, we've got Old Inglourious Bastards. I feel bad putting this movie so low, but I have to be honest and say that while there are some great highs, the lows are definitely low. Christoph Waltz as Hans Lambda is a fucking powerhouse of a performance. He's so intimidating and menacing that I just wanted to see more of him. Genuinely the best performance in the whole movie, and it's not even close. Some other high points include the opening sequence on the farm, the iconic pub scene with the three fingers giving them away. The baseball bat scene is great. Watching Nazis get murdered is always satisfying. And the final scene with Brad Pitt scalping Hans is incredible. However, I just have an issue with the movie theater scene that really hurt the movie for me. The problem I have with it is that the theater getting burnt down and shot up felt a lot like any other mass shooting in the US, and that's what I was thinking about during the whole scene the first time I watched it, which really hindered my ability to enjoy Hitler getting turned into a fine red paste via gunfire. I know it's not fair of a movie that came out in 2009, or it's not the fault of a movie that came out in 2009 that modern current events shaped my perception of it, but man, it just left a pit in my stomach. Granted, I may have been just a little pretty drunk the first time I watched it, but it's a feeling that I haven't been able to shake while thinking about the movie. Also, I just don't like Eli Roth, and this movie has too much Eli Roth for its own good. Brad Pitt gives a good performance. Mike Myers has a surprise bit part that I enjoyed. Every time Christoph Waltz is on screen is phenomenal. But the whole film just feels okay to me. It's still very well made. It's still tightly structured, and you don't feel that 2.5-hour runtime. Unfortunately, it is the last Tarantino movie edited by his longtime editor Sally Menke, as she died a year after this came out. I'll definitely be talking about her with the other movies, but just know she is an incredibly important figure in this video and in the Tarantino filmography, period. Alright, so this part's being recorded well after the fact. I accidentally managed to just completely fucking ruin the audio in the previous take of this part. So we're gonna redo this one. This is the 8th place segment. Alright, here we go. At number 8, we have Grindhouse. Now, I know this may look crazy to have Grindhouse higher on this list than Inglourious Basterds, but let me explain why. This movie is Robert Rodriguez's Planet Terror and Death Proof mixed in together with fake trailers to replicate the experience of watching a double feature at the old Grindhouse theaters of New York's 42nd Street, all in one package. Despite Planet Terror and Death Proof both being standalone films, the framing of this combined double feature with the fake trailers and everything make it a unique cut, and is why I'm including it here as a part of the video. As a whole package, I like Grindhouse more than I like Death Proof on its own, because this is such a cool concept for a series of films that never was. The fake trailers make this feel like a real double feature, and the actual Grindhouse elements like the intro that I used to open the video, the film grain, the missing reels, and other such damage makes it feel so cozy to me. And that's what keeps it out of the last few places. It's a really fun watch. I didn't particularly feel the runtime. I love the commitment to the aesthetics that this whole film has, and the fact that 2 of the fake trailers are now real movies is really fun. Shout out to the Machete movies, and I guess a begrudging mention to Eli Roth's Thanksgiving. Overall, though, I think I had more fun with Grindhouse than I did with Bastards, which is why I'm okay with putting it higher on this list. I know Bastards is an exponentially better made movie, I'm not that insane, but I have to consider the balance of quality and my enjoyment of a film when rating things for a list. Also, this is just a dumb gimmicky video for me to talk about a lot of movies that I otherwise don't have a reason or motivation to cover in their own video. Well, except for maybe one of them, but I won't say which one yet. In 7th place, it's Tarantino's first feature film, Reservoir Dogs. This one is fine. I mean, you can tell it's Tarantino's first film, and out the gate, yeah, you see every major aspect that would remain going forward. The nonlinear storytelling, relevant pop culture references, tons of violence, Michael Madsen, etc. And in terms of a directorial debut, you could do a lot worse than this. I mean, the performances are pretty good, and how brilliantly the movie gets around having a lower budget is honestly inspiring. Most of this film is in one location, the warehouse after the heist has gone wrong. Simple, clean, and to the point. And with how complex and tense the character relations are, it is really clear how Tarantino has had such a long and storied career after this. I mean, the imagery was instantly iconic, to the point where literally every dude recreated the image of the heist crew walking in suits for their wedding photos for a long time after it came out. Like, this movie immediately had an impact, and that's great. It's just in the context of every Tarantino movie, this one is the most baseline. This is the standard you should judge every Tarantino movie against when determining where you rank another Tarantino movie. That being said, this is a solid directorial debut, and credit should be given where credit is due. This is a very respectable film, even if the opening sequence in the diner has what is perhaps the most egregious Tarantino pop culture dialogue in any of his movies. I mean, good lord, the whole conversation about the song Like a Virgin makes you want to claw your eyes out. But the rest of the movie more than makes up for that stumble. At number 6, we have what is likely in people's top 3, if not top 1 Tarantino movie. It's Pulp Fiction.
The cornerstone of any nutritious breakfast.
I don't really know what's left to say about this movie that hasn't been said before. I mean, it's an icon for a reason. It's smart, it's got so much style, the editing is phenomenal, it's super quotable, it's super memorable. It really perfected and helped popularize non-linear editing, and it's been in the cultural zeitgeist for 30 plus years while still being relevant. Now, what most people don't typically mention is that this movie owes a lot to Kurosawa's Rashomon, 1954, which presents the same event from various different perspectives and is really playing around with the concepts of time and truth. Pulp Fiction is predominantly playing around with time, but it, like every Tarantino movie, owes everything to what came before, hence why I at least have to mention Rashomon exists. It's also a really good movie. Not the point. For those who somehow don't know what this movie is, this is a series of stories told in non-chronological order, with tales of hitmen dealing with a dead body, hitmen hunting down a boxer who owes a lot of money to the crime boss who hired them, one of the hitmen taking care of the said crime boss's wife for a night, all bookended by a couple robbing a diner the hitmen are eating at. That's the fundamental series of events in this movie, and what makes it so special is the way it flows between these events in a non-linear way to still give a satisfying ending to all characters. It's really incredible. I know I'm talking in circles, but really there's nothing else I can do. Everyone knows what this movie is, what it did, why it matters, and why it's famous. Of course, the dialogue is arguably Tarantino's best, the forever iconic.
Say what again? Say what again? I dare you. I double dare you, motherfucker. Say what one more goddamn time.
Is so memorable. And that's just one example, you know? Everyone calls it Tarantino's greatest work, and while I wouldn't go that far, I'd say it's pretty damn good.
You know why you didn't see that sign?
Why?
Because it ain't there.
Speaking of non-linear, we have in the number 5 slot, Kill Bill Volume 2. It's weird to talk about the second half of a movie before the first half, but it's my list, they count as separate movies. Anyway, the second volume of Kill Bill is a movie that is a lot quieter than most Tarantino movies. We spend an extended sequence of the film in flashback to the bride's time being trained by Pai Mei, where it's a series of training montages and kung fu fights with only 2 characters, intercut with the present where she's been buried alive and trying to escape so she can finally kill Bill. The fight scenes as a whole are a lot smaller here. The fight in Bud's trailer against Elle is a far cry from the Crazy 88's fight in the first volume, yet it's still just as fun. But what this movie lacks in insane fight scenes, it makes up for in the emotional scenes. The scene where the bride reaches Bill's house and discovers that her daughter she thought was dead is still alive is genuinely heartbreaking. And the fact that the final fight with Bill is really just a conversation between two exes about why they broke up is a choice that I really appreciate. I love how quiet it is. I love that it's so simple and stripped down and ultimately not that dramatic visually. As fun as it would have been for the final fight to be a moonlit, blood-splattered duel to the death on the beach next to Bill's house, it being in his backyard feels more intriguing. Now, as a standalone movie, I do enjoy Volume 2 a lot. And I put it above Pulp Fiction because I asked myself the simple question of which one I would rather throw on during a movie night. And my answer was indeed Kill Bill over Pulp Fiction, which some may find crazy. It really comes down to how rewarding this is as a sequel and how much I love the narrative of both Volume 1 and 2. And man, this is such a great payoff. I don't particularly love the recap where Uma Thurman ends it by dropping the line about how now I'm gonna kill Bill or whatever it is. But the rest of the movie is so strong that it makes up for that stumble. The fight in the trailer, the actual wedding massacre, breaking out of the coffin, the training sequence, the final confrontation, and especially the actual ending really make it work brilliantly. The ending is such a great payoff, and I'm not going to say anything about it. If you want that, you'll have to watch it for yourself. After this video, of course. Please, keep watching! For number 4, we have Kill Bill Volume 1. This is the story of the bride as she goes on a bloody revenge streak after her ex-boss and lover Bill put her in a coma by attempting to murder her at her wedding rehearsal 4.5 years ago. She wakes up, realizes she's no longer pregnant, and goes off to avenge her daughter, and she's got 5 targets all around the world to kill, including Bill. In typical Tarantino fashion, we're going non-linear through this story as we start with the bride getting shot in the head a la Fallout New Vegas, then cutting to the present day where we get the first fight scene of many against the bride's second target, Vernita Green, in her home in Pasadena, California. After we spend the rest of the movie in extended flashbacks as we watch the bride go from coma all the way through her killing her first target on the list, O-Ren Ishii, where we end on O-Ren's assistant informing Bill of everything the bride has done and preparing him for the fury that's to come in Volume 2. That's the quick and dirty story recap anyway. And now the fun part. I love the entire House of Blue Leaves sequence so much. Just every moment in it is so stylized and fun, and the amount of carnage you get from the fight against Gogo Yubari, to the fight against the Legion of the Crazy 88s, to the fight against Johnny Moe, culminating in the final fight against O-Ren herself, it's all so brilliantly done. I just wish the Crazy 88's fight was in color. I know it's only in black and white because the MPAA wouldn't release it with an R rating if it was in color due to how much blood and violence is in this one scene alone, and I know it's just a bit nitpicky, but I really do wish you could see the blood in all its crimson glory in the theatrical release of the film. I know the home media releases often include the full in-color scene as intended, but I'm specifically talking about the theatrical cut here. I love almost everything else about this movie, though. The one other issue I have with this cut, and a large part of why I'm putting this in 4th and not 3rd, is because the ending revealing that the bride's daughter is still alive and living with Bill was not what I would have done. I get it's trying to sell people to come back and watch Volume 2, which released 6 months after Volume 1, But I really do think the audience discovering BB being alive alongside the bride is a much more emotionally impactful moment, especially with how much weight is in the scene of where she wakes up out of the coma. Her screams of anguish as she realizes she's no longer pregnant are visceral, especially because Uma Thurman had become a mother shortly before the production of this movie began, and it really adds a lot of depth to this as a revenge film. Yet telling the audience that her daughter is alive while establishing dramatic irony takes away from what could have been a truly even more amazing audience reaction in Volume 2. However, I do get it. You have to establish higher stakes for the second movie. I just wish it was kept a surprise. Overall, I can't recommend Kill Bill Volume 1 and Volume 2 enough, but since they had separate theatrical releases, I have to put them in separate ranks on this list. I probably should have Volume 1 in second place, but for the moment I'm comfortable with number 3 or number 4 being where it is. Oh my god. Oh hey, that's a funny little vestigial from before I watched a certain movie that will take number 2 instead of that. Oh buddy. Oh, we're in for such a fun treat. At number 3, we've got Django Unchained. This is an interesting one because I keep going back and forth on whether or not I want to put this or Kill Bill Volume 1 higher. I do really like this movie a lot. It's got some amazing performances across the board, some incredible fight scenes, some gorgeous cinematography, an amazing final shootout, a satisfying revenge narrative set in the backdrop of the pre-Civil War American South, and it's really well made. Although there's definitely something missing for me. This is the first Tarantino movie made after Sally Menke's death, and you can kinda tell this was edited by someone else. Although it's definitely not as noticeable as the other post-Sally Menke movies. That being said, this is a spaghetti western done in a modern style with both amazing licensed music and an amazing score by legendary spaghetti western composer, whoever the fuck did the composing, I don't remember, and done with exponentially more blood. I mean, good lord, the final shootout has to be among Tarantino's best, and of course, shout out to the phenomenal Christoph Waltz and Jamie Foxx performances, as well as an amazingly evil Samuel L. Jackson and Leonardo DiCaprio. The dinner scene where DiCaprio has the hammer and he's maniacally screaming about "What's it gonna be, Doc?" is truly incredible. As far as Tarantino's revenge movies go, this one is among the best he's done. I mean, it's simultaneously very fun and very hard to watch. I know it's a movie about slavery, so it's gonna show the evils of American history in a very Tarantino way, and obviously that's gonna be challenging to anyone who has even a shred of empathy and morality, but the action and the revenge really make it so much fun as a whole. The scene where Django and Dr. King Schultz go into the small town in Texas and shoot the sheriff is incredibly fun and satisfying. Django whipping the guy who whipped him to death is really narratively rewarding, and blowing up Samuel L. Jackson in the finale is fantastic. I do think there's an argument to be made against this movie, particularly in the ways it handles race, racial slurs, and slavery, but that is an argument for someone who is much more qualified than me to handle, and I leave it in your hands to seek out those arguments if you're so inclined. My main point is that Django is an incredibly well-made movie that doesn't feel its nearly 3-hour runtime, and it is the best of the post-Sally Menke movies. It's a good movie. Go watch it with some friends if you have the chance. But now we're here to talk about... Oh my god. But now we're here for my number 2 pick as the second best Tarantino movie. And if you've been paying attention, there's only 2 movies I haven't mentioned yet. So without further ado, let's go to it. Or get into it? Yeah, whatever. You can fix this. In second place, we have what honestly should be number 1, It's Jackie Brown. I fucking love this movie. Oh my god, why did no one tell me this movie was this good? If Grindhouse is Tarantino's attempt to make a 70s exploitation movie that didn't quite feel like a Tarantino movie and suffers as a result, Jackie Brown is Tarantino's attempt to make a 70s blaxploitation film that succeeds because it doesn't feel like a Tarantino movie. This is the least Tarantino feeling movie on this list, but I truly don't care because this movie is oozing with charm and style from start to finish. And more than that, this feels like the most mature film in Tarantino's filmography. There are not really any of the standard Tarantinoisms like non-linear editing, non-linear storytelling. There's a massive star-studded cast with people like Samuel L. Jackson. Obviously, this is still a Tarantino movie after all. Samuel L. Jackson gives an uniquely incompetent Tarantino villain. Pam Grier delivers a phenomenal performance. Robert Forrester also delivers a great performance. Robert De Niro's in this movie. Michael Keaton. I'll admit I'm not an expert on blaxploitation cinema, which means I can't speak super in-depth about the influences you see on display here, but I am at least able to see the influences of films like Across 110th Street, Dolomite, and Foxy Brown on this film, alongside the general 70s aesthetic this film has going on. The soundtrack, just the whole damn soundtrack, is probably the best in any Tarantino movie, which is really saying something, given how good his soundtracks tend to be. The opening montage of Pam Grier walking in the flight attendant uniform is so charming and sleek, and it feels right out of a 70s movie. And the music in that moment, Across 110th Street, oh my god, what an opening track. This whole movie just feels so out of character for Tarantino, especially because the whole thing is linear, and hell, outside of the early scenes in Sam Jackson's apartment, there's not that many shots of feet in this movie. Like, it's really Tarantino trying his best to make a movie that doesn't feel like his usual MO. And it really does feel like a filmmaker trying to prove he can do a more traditional, mature drama or dramatic film. And boy, does it succeed. I do want to make a particular mention to the cinematography again, because god, this movie looks so good. The composition and camera movements are so brilliantly done. Like, the opening montage of Jackie running through the airport to get to her gate is just such a beautiful sequence. The money handoff in the food court, the confrontations with Odell in the dark, beautiful. Just so well composed and shot in a way that makes it feel, or that makes it hard to just not just play the whole film here. This movie kicks so much ass, easily among his best work, but it's not the number one slot. So what is? Well, let's check it out. Shall we? My number one pick is the most obvious choice I could have made, especially towards anyone who knows my taste in movies. I love Kill Bill, The Whole Bloody Affair, and it's easily my favorite Tarantino, bar none. I know I just talked about Django after talking about Kill Bill Volume 1 and 2 and Jackie Brown, but it is the combined all-in-one cut that makes it so much better than the rest of his filmography. I mean, the in-color version of the House of Blue Leaves fight alone makes this cut incredible, but the big star of the show for me is the extended anime sequence. The O-Ren Ishii backstory is already a high point, but the added elevator scene is such a fun set piece that adds even more to this extremely stylized scene. Watching O-Ren fight the guy who killed her father in that claustrophobic-ass elevator, her dropping the grenades, the explosion and elevator drop, how tense her escape is, oh my fucking god, it's so good! And of course, that's just the tip of the iceberg for what makes this cut so good. I mean, this is the reason I chose to talk about the theatrical cuts of each film. I do love Kill Bill Volume 1 for what it is, but the theatrical cut's black and white House of Blue Leaves fight left something to be desired, even if I love the transitions to and from black and white. And The Whole Bloody Affair did not disappoint when it has this scene in full color. This bloodbath may be my favorite big Tarantino fight scene. It's just so excessive and fun. The sheer beauty of the O-Rin duel in the snow as a finale fight, the Gogo Yubari fight before it, all of it is incredible, but it is really aided by the Crazy 88's massacre being in color. And there's some other minor changes here and there that I think makes the whole bloody affair a better movie. Like cutting down the ending of Volume 1 to make it so the audience realizes with Beatrix that Bibi is alive at the same time she arrives at Bill's house is a much better and more interesting choice than spelling it out before she knows. I also think cutting out the recap from the start of Volume 2 where she name drops the movie by saying she's going to kill Bill is a great choice. Especially because the movie flows from Bill talking to Sophie to the Chapter 6 intertitle so beautifully in this cut, and it adds so much. This was always meant to be one movie, but it was so big that it had to be cut into two parts since most audiences can't handle a nearly 4.5 hour long film. But me, I love it. I think this is the best way to watch the movie. This epic revenge tale is just so special. As I mentioned earlier, I love how you can see everything that influenced this movie on screen. From the choice in actors to the names of songs on the original soundtrack, and even the opening text about this being dedicated to the master filmmaker Kinji Fukasaku. It's all so great. But the thing is, this was always going to be great. Kill Bill Volume 1 and Volume 2 are great on their own, so combining them into one mega cut is obviously going to be amazing. It's just simple math, where 1 + 1 = 3, since I contend that the whole bloody affair is greater than the sum of its parts. Truly my favorite Tarantino by a wide margin. Everything I said about Volume 1 and 2 still apply. All the good things present in those are still excellent here. It really is the presentation that makes this feel so much more epic. There isn't a single wasted moment of runtime in this movie, and that's an astonishing feat for a movie that's this long. Of course, this is among Sally Menke's best work editing-wise. It's incredible. She really held Tarantino's career together. I mean, there's only one movie in the top 5 that she didn't edit, and the only reason it's that high up is because of how strong the performances are and how well made it is. But this movie, it's got everything. Extremely high quality across the board, super fun movie, some real significance and depth to it. And honestly, I should just make a dedicated video to talk about this movie for the fun of it. And you know what? I will, someday. Just not soon, but maybe. With that should be all 12 Tarantino films ranked. Did any of that make sense? Probably not, but I sure had fun, and I hope you did too. I love film, and it's fun to talk about a whole filmography like this, even if it's not super in-depth. I'm definitely going to do a more in-depth film review in the future, or multiple in-depth film reviews in the future, particularly one for Kill Bill The Whole Bloody Affair, because boy, I am ready to go into extreme detail about nearly everything, explaining why it's an indisputable cinematic masterpiece and all that. But I'm also interested in talking about some real garbage movies too. Anyways, thank you so much for watching this video, it truly means a lot, and thank you for sticking through what has become a much bigger hiatus than I anticipated. I'm glad to be back, even though this video isn't the video I promised was going to be my first one back, but since this video has been making me way more work, or since this video has been me making way more work for myself than necessary, I mean that intro sequence and getting all the clips, etc. I'm going to take a page out of the Grindhouse playbook, and we're going to end this video with some previews for upcoming attractions, or upcoming attraction, to be more accurate. Before that trailer, pseudo-trailer, whatever bullshit I come up with later, rolls, I just want to say what I always say to close out a video, and then we're off. Thanks again, and good night! first saw promotional material for this game, I genuinely thought it was a fan project. But then more came out about it, and it turned out it was real. I was at the point where I was questioning if I was even gonna cover this game. I hurt myself today to see if I still feel. Try to focus on the pain, the only thing that's real. I was questioning if I was capable of doing my job as a critic. I was questioning my loyalty to this franchise that I love. The needle tears all the old familiar sting. I have a job to do, and maybe foolishly I thought this game could be good. But boy, do they love to prove me wrong at every turn. Try to kill it all away, but I remember everything. But the question, that real core question, was why the fuck did they decide to bring her back? What have I become, my sweetest friend? Everyone I know goes away in the end. Why did they decide to bring back Chloe Price? And you could have it all. My empire of dirt, I will let you down. I will make you hurt.
Ugh. Seriously?
I never joke about testing, Max.
And yet you're such a ham. One moment.